Okay, man, are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go. Now, come on, now crank this motherfucker up.
Break it down like this.
Hello, Internet. Gino, that Bermuda Echo here again with another episode of Deep Listens, and it is time once again for us to get deep, balls deep in the NBA, the basketball. We do these shows a few times a year, and it's the playoffs. We have our end-of-year awards. Now all of the awards have come out. We can check how our preseason predictions went, and a bunch of the series seem to be pretty much wrapped. It seems like we're going to have our Eastern and Western Conference games soon. I think we know who's going to play in most of those. So I think it was a good time to check in and see how everything was going before, the offseason. So joining me, as always, to discuss basketball, I'm joined by Pete Busby. Hello, Pete.
Hey, what's going on? Excited to talk hoops. It's been a while. I would like to point out that some NBA writer voted for LeBron James, number 5 on their MVP ballot. Not the year. Sit this one out, King James. Not your time.
Yeah, that is a real we have to, right? He's still in the NBA, so we have to put him on the list technically. And that snicker you heard in the background was Chris ZombiePie redacted. Hello, ZP.
Well, I think after last night's Warriors-Grizzlies game, we can all agree that coaching contracts are like leases. So can we return Mike Brown so as that he's not the head coach of the Kings? No, thank you. I've seen enough. Please.
Yeah, I think you can get your money back if you haven't taken the tag off of him.
Yeah, there's a return policy, right?
Yeah, I mean, you just get store credit, though, so you're only allowed to get a different Warriors backup.
Oh, cool. Because the last one worked so well.
Just keep rolling the dice. One of them will hit.
Yeah. Do you think that Vivek is just like pacing back and forth in his home, just like, the Warriors, I want to be them?
So I don't know if you followed it, but the GM, Monty McNair, wanted Mike Brown, and Vivek actually wanted to hire Mark Jackson, and they were butting heads over whose pick was better.
Mm-hmm.
Just for the record, both of those are Warriors coaches.
They're both bad choices, too.
They're both bad choices, and they're both Warriors retreads.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll lure Jay Wright out of retirement. Stylish man. He'd look good on the sidelines.
What did Kenny Atkinson do to the NBA?
I don't understand why Kenny Atkinson doesn't have a job. I mean, of course, with the Kings, we forget Mike Malone was the head coach of the Kings at one point, and look where he is now in terms of his career.
Yes.
But I don't understand. Okay, so we're just jumping into me ranting about the Kings.
We could do that. So, I mean, I was going to start with playoff stuff, but if we got you started.
We know what the listeners want. They want Sacramento Kings.
Okay. What do you want? 5 minutes? Gino, you put time on the clock, okay? I don't know.
Before we put time on the clock.
Do the plug.
Wait, before we put time on the clock, just a reminder, you can get in touch with the show at DeepListensPod on Twitter, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We have our comment sections, and deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. You can support the show on patreon.com/deeplistens, which would get you access to our Discord, which is why kind of we're doing this show today. One of our listeners, one of our longtime supporters, Grandin, messaged on the Discord saying, hey, NBA stuff's happening. Where's the NBA show? And we're like, you know what? You're right. NBA stuff is happening. We should have an NBA show. So if you want to cajole us into making content to your likings, go ahead, support us, patreon.com/deeplistens. We're only 2 or 3 more patrons away from having to play Unlimited Saga for you and your entertainment.
I don't think Pete's aware, but we actually have a 76er super fan in the Discord right now that's not Pete.
We do. We do. So, ZP...
there's still a 76er super fan? They haven't given up yet?
They possibly thought that JoJo should have won the MVP over Jokic.
They're wrong.
Well, I'm going to leave it there. ZP?
I love you, Doyle.
Yep. ZP, go ahead.
Wait. There's 2 catastrophes that basically happened. I mean, on the one hand, what are the positives? The GM has proven that he has reigned complete control of the team from Vivek Ranadive, which
Has
is
he?
good. Yes, because he got his
For
coaching
now.
pick. He fired the coach he did not like earlier into the season. Apparently, Vivek wanted to keep Luke Walton until the end of the season, and Monty McNair said, no, thank you. All of the draft picks have supposedly been him. So that's the positive.
The
The
positive
two
is someone else is in charge.
are-
We don't know if they're good, but it's anyone else. So
the
that's, I guess, good.
negative is that we did probably the single worst trade during free agency or the trade market this entire season. And then also this entire coaching search was a complete sham and just a complete, I just don't even know. So, like, I don't understand. So apparently the reason why they picked Mike Brown is they wanted a defensive-minded coach. So if that's the case, then why did the Kings interview Mike D'Antoni? And if the Kings wanted experience, why did you interview Charles Lee, Will Hardy, and like Darvin Ham? And if you wanted experienced coaches, why the fuck didn't you interview Kenny Atkinson and Terry Stotts? Even fucking Frank Vogel. And yet, apparently, we got into this dick measuring contest between the GM and the owner, in which Vivek wanted Mark Jackson, the very thought of which ran shivers down my spine, and then Monty McNair wanted Mike Brown, who is quickly showing that he is not prepared to be the head coach of an NBA team.
And, like, also worth saying, Mike Brown has been a head coach twice, and each time he's been a head coach, it's gone terribly.
Okay, come on. He had a winning record, but yes, he had LeBron James.
Yes.
He had a couple of good runs with the Lakers before the team decided to, like, look, the Buss family after Dr. Buss passed away has been a complete sham and a joke.
Yes.
He made the conference finals with the Lakers semifinals once. And then things fell apart for the Lakers after that. And I don't know, he got to the finals with LeBron.
Have we seen a single time where Mike Brown did a good job as a head coach when he did not have a first ballot Hall of Famer on his team?
I don't think so.
No.
I can't recall any.
No, we haven't. My complaint with this hiring is I am a selfish person, and I thought
Right.
I thought we were going to get Mark Jackson out of the fucking booth. I thought we were going to get him into a look.
We should be so lucky.
Let's get him coaching. Let's get him let's give him a hobby. Let's just get him out of the booth so I don't have to listen to him and Jeff Van Gundy do their shtick for another 5 years. Please. I don't want to hear Mama, there goes that man again. I don't want to hear Mark Jackson explain how you need to play through your stars. I don't want to hear how, like, what we need to do is give the ball to our best player more. He hasn't done good analysis in years. And I just need, give Doris the spot. Give Stan the spot.
I don't know. There was a
Fucking
brief
Hugh
period while he
Van
was
Gundy
actively,
booth.
he was actively interviewing. They actually put both of the Van Gundys next to each other, and it was actually really funny, and it was actually good.
Yeah, Stan's still a good analyst because he still remembers how to coach basketball, and Jeff is kind of a weird curmudgeon. That's fun.
If we put Stan Van Gundy in the booth and he just build a wall over and over again for an entire game, I would be on board with that.
I just want him getting progressively louder every time he says
Just
it.
hoarser and hoarser as the game goes on.
What you need to do is build a wall.
And by like the fourth quarter, you can't understand a word he's saying because it just sounds like a cement.
Yes. This is what I want, but instead you didn't get the job done, Sacramento Kings. You did not take Mark Jackson out of the booth. Now it's left to the Lakers, the other one of the other worst run franchises in the NBA, to potentially take Mark Jackson away from us. Please,
All right.
someone.
So the
Please.
other piece of, God damn it, what is this organization doing? So let's talk about the Halliburton trade. So I like Sabonis. he actually was good for the Kings in terms of shoring up the center position after. Yeah. And it turns out Rashawn Holmes had extenuating circumstances that prevented him from being on the court, which were not, as previously reported, him hating on the franchise. Although now he doesn't make sense, so I think you have to trade him.
Yes. Also, they have like 5 centers that none of them can play at the same time.
I still like Alex Len as a backup.
He's fine. They just have too many.
But yeah, it turns out that Rashawn Holmes had some stuff happen that was not related to basketball. Less said, the better. You can look it up. Apparently, the courts ruled in his favor, saying that he is free of guilt on that stuff. But anyways, the Tyrese Halliburton trade. So I like Sabonis.
He's 26. He's younger than I thought he was.
Yeah, he's a good player. He's the joke on the internet is that Sabonis is probably the best person to put on the Sacramento Kings jersey since Boogie. I think you could have traded for him without giving up the highest ceiling player we've had on the team ever.
Not ever. Chris Webber's a higher ceiling.
Boogie did have a higher ceiling.
Boogie and Chris Webber both did. But Halliburton is probably, he of the young guards you had was the surest bet to be an above average
I bet you could have done that trade with Davion instead of Halliburton. I still am convinced you could have done that. And on top of that, what Woj was later reporting was that basically every GM that wasn't Indiana or the Kings told him supposedly that they were surprised that Halliburton was even on the table, which means yet again, this organization got tunnel vision, really wanted a specific player, and then just plugged in the players that could make the trade possible instead of actually shopping Halliburton team to team and getting the best possible deal out of Halliburton.
Yes, they could have gotten more for sure.
In the Kings' defense, they did get a 2027 second round pick back. I'm not even sure if that's a real asset at this point.
How you trade Tyrese Halliburton and don't have at least one first-round draft pick to show for it, I don't fucking know how that's possible.
Well, you trade for a dude who's an all-star, but like the most technically an all-star. Like he is always the last all-star. He's usually the guy who after 2 people get hurt and then say they don't want to be on the all-star game, then Sabonis gets pulled in. He's kind of a tough player because he's clearly very good. He is a player that will make your other players better because he passes quite well. He's good in the post. He does not stop the ball. But he is a limited defensive player because he's got a small wingspan and he's actually undersized for his position. He's like 6'9". And he's not an explosive athlete.
Horrible facial hair.
Horrible facial hair, and that brings morale down.
Big and can't guard the rim particularly well.
Yeah, he's short-armed, and he's not big for his position, and he has to play center because he can't really shoot to 3 in an acceptable way.
If the Pacers proved anything, even if you will it, he cannot play the center position.
Yeah, when they played him at power forward and then had literally the best complementary center you could have had, a 3-point shooting center who barely needs the ball, it didn't work. So I don't think you're going to be able to find another center to pair with Sabonis, and then you've got this situation where you've got another high usage player, and the Fox-Sabonis pick and roll is going to be good. Like, that will work fine.
I will say that the few times that they played before, both of them got deactivated because of injury concerns, which is probably the right call. But then at the same time, why did you – if you did the Sabonis trade to win now, why – it didn't work, first off.
You didn't win.
We didn't even make the play-in, which is fucking ridiculous. But – the few times that I saw pick and pops and pick and roll from Sabonis to Fox, it was very good. It was fun.
Yeah, but they're just going to have a problem with their defense is still combustible because Fox isn't good on D, neither Sabonis.
And on top of that, we have this team's complete lack of wing depth is going to be the bane of their existence until they figure this out. And probably they need to trade Harrison Barnes for something, anything. God, please. Why? Can we go back in time and redo to where the Boston Celtics offered Marcus Smart for Tyrese Halliburton? Can we go back in time and make that trade happen, please?
I wouldn't do that trade if I was the Kings. If you trade Halliburton for Smart, then you've just got Davion Mitchell but 2 years older.
No, the offer was Harrison Barnes for Smart.
Oh, do that.
Yeah,
that's fine.
That's better. Sabonis, just before we change the subject, Sabonis is like a weird litmus test for like basketball statistics.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you look at his numbers, right? Like he's basically like a 19, 12, and 6 guy.
Yep.
Which is like that's pretty incredible, but he just like he's not going to take you anywhere.
Do you know what? And I say this as a Kings fan that is very familiar with this player, and I realize this is complete hyperbole. I realize that, okay? But I was thinking the same thing, Pete, and this is why I'm getting flashbacks to Hassan Whiteside, and it scares me so much.
Yeah, that's fair.
A player that has really good stats on paper, and then you watch him play, and it's like, oh, this is why you can't stay on a team.
I think he's good. Like he's at least a good player.
I
whereas
realize that, but it
like
doesn't.
Hassan was
winning basketball is the problem.
He needs to be your third best player. I think like he's like Diet Jokic in a lot of ways. He's shorter, he's smaller, he doesn't score as well, he doesn't pass as well. He's worse than Jokic at everything, but he's the same sort of thing. He's not that athletic compared to other guys his position. He's got above average passing ability. He's got pretty good shot making. He's a post up center in a not so post up center-y game, but he's less of everything, and you just can't. Yeah. That's not enough. If he's a guy, be your best player.
He's a guy you could send out in like the second unit and just be like, Sabonis, you're our guy. Like you go out with the second squad, everything goes through you, and then come crunch time, maybe you're on the floor, maybe you're not, depending on the matchup.
Yeah, I mean, it feels to me like it's almost like when was it the Trailblazers who traded for Gerald Wallace for All-Star Gerald Wallace early in Dame's career?
Yeah.
And they're
pre Bobcats or post Bobcats?
It was post Bobcat. Gerald Wallace got one All-Star game, and I remember I think it was the Trailblazers who traded for him. But it's like,
is that the year he averaged like 14 rebounds or something?
Yeah, like he had one outlier year, and I just remember it was like we traded for All-Star Gerald Wallace, and it was like, let's just pump the brakes on this. Technically, yes, he was an All-Star at one point, but
so yeah, that was the Charlotte season.
Yeah, it was 2010.
Yep.
18 points, 10 boards. I mean, he wasn't even that great of an all-star.
No, that's what I mean. Is like Sabonis he's fine if he's your second or third best player, and your first best player is really good. But
I can remember that year when there were way too many Atlanta Hawks on that specific Atlanta Hawks team in the All-Star game.
Yeah, but like the Pacers, they are kind of what the Kings want to be, right? There are a bunch of dudes who are close to being all-stars who really none of them are good enough to get there, like Malcolm Brogdon.
Then
why
not go younger with the team?
And that's the Sacramento Kings minute.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm not the only person who's miserable on this podcast. Hey, Pete.
Yeah. So I think that's a good way to transition to the current standings and the current playoff situation. Pete, for those who are watching live or listening live, the 76ers just got bounced out of the playoffs by the Miami Heat. How do you feel?
Well, considering they lost to my least favorite player, Jimmy Butler, I'm not doing great. It's an unfortunate moment in Philadelphia fandom. And I promise you, I haven't looked at Twitter. I don't know what we're saying. I promise you, we're not taking it well.
Oh, yeah. Weird. I can't believe it. Philly fans not taking it magnanimously?
Nope. It's going to be grim on Philly Twitter for a while.
Yeah, they were booing Joel and the team at halftime.
Damn.
And as I was watching it, I'm like, this guy has a broken face, a messed up, like, torn ligament in his hand, and y'all are booing him. What are we doing?
He predicted it, too. He's like, look, it's lose-lose. I don't play. They're pissed. I play and play bad. They're just as pissed. Like, Joel knew. And he's Philly's favorite son.
Yep.
Like, if you pick one athlete that Philly fans love right now, usually it would be an Eagle. But right now it's Joel, and we're still booing him.
Yeah. So, like, I guess you can't – there's only boo. There's not boo at Harden only. You know, you can't specifically target your boo.
Is he
washed?
Let's take a vote.
How washed do they have to be considered washed? Do they have to still be a useful player?
Yeah, all right. So he's still, I guess he's still useful. Okay, let's do this. If I set the over-under for additional All-Star games for Harden at 2.5, would you take the over or the under?
I'd take the under.
Okay.
I'm gonna agree with Gino on that one too.
Yeah,
So is this another case of when you look back at the Ben Simmons Harden trade where both teams basically lost?
I don't think that we know that the Nets lost yet. I mean, Ben didn't play this year, but if Ben plays next year, and
every report that we've heard about Ben Simmons is that his body is fucked way more than
back surgery now. This is the first I heard of it, and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, he's shut down for back surgery now.
Yeah, I mean, it turns out he was actually legitimately hurt for a good amount of time. But I'm just saying we haven't seen him play yet, and he's at least young, and they got picks. So we don't necessarily know that the Nets lost this as well, because the 76ers, what they got out of this was Harden. And he's can opt out this year, and then they'd have to pay him, or he can opt in, and I don't know which is worse.
You cannot pay him the max. There's no conceivable world where it makes sense to pay him the max, period, end of story.
I don't think so. So then I don't know what you do with him, right? You've got James, and then if he walks, then you lost multiple picks and Ben Simmons for nothing.
Yeah, it's not like the Simmons thing I can eat because that was grim. That needed to end. But
he was not going to play.
No, the picks is what hurts.
Yeah, and you also lost your backup center and a solid starting shooting guard, which probably would have helped you more than Harden in these playoffs.
Look, the only sort of silver lining right now is Tyrese.
Yep.
He's come on. He could be the guy next season along with JoJo.
Yep, he could be what you wanted James to be, honestly.
Or what we wanted, if we go back far enough, what we wanted Fultz to be.
Yeah, though I don't know that that Maxey is going to be a good enough defender in the long term, but he's good enough on offense. It might not matter.
And we got Matisse.
Yeah, Matisse was a good backup to Harden when you needed to switch, but I don't know.
I don't know, man. Matisse is so good on defense, but his offense is so abysmal. It's not just that he's a bad shooter. He doesn't cut super well. He doesn't set good screens. He's actually a zero on offense. PJ Tucker at least can hit the corner threes and abuses people when they leave him alone. Matisse just kind of chills, which is
he's basically Tony Allen in an era when we've all decided that's not really a viable move anymore.
Yeah, and that's kind of a bummer.
Can I declare the process a failure yet?
I mean, you can. I think at this point, I think JoJo has a decent shot of eventually leaving because he, at a certain point you get sick of this. He's been injured his entire career every year, and I don't know how the team gets better with its current construction. Even if you free up the Harden money, I think you're pretty close to capped out with once you have to pay Maxey.
Yeah, they basically are what they are at this point. And
I don't
we
know
don't
how
have
much
picks now, so
I
don't think anybody's clamoring too. I love Philly, born and raised. I'll rep it to death. I don't think anyone's clamoring to come to Philly, Harden notwithstanding.
Yeah, I don't know. You watch what's going on right now with Harden and Joel and Ben Simmons. Basically every superstar who has come there has been vociferously booed except for Allen Iverson.
Yeah, we still love it. If Allen Iverson wanted to come back, we'd probably sign him.
Hasn't basically every player who has been drafted by the 76ers been chased out of town at some point?
Yeah, but I mean, think of all the best ones, right? Dr. J wasn't, but I mean, that was the 70s. I don't really know if we can count that. Wilt was, Charles Barkley was,
Iggy
JoJo
was,
Bilby, yeah, Iguodala was. Iguodala was because he wasn't Iverson, and that's just not really that fair.
No,
so basically,
yeah, but
everybody
Iggy was also
Iverson
miscast when he was on the 76ers.
He never should have been the number one guy.
Yeah,
but
so
we have to be dicks about it.
Yep. So that's bye 76ers. I think the Heat are well coached and they got to play against two teams that weren't.
Yeah, that's the other big question is Doc leaves, right? Like Doc just bounces?
I think
Probably.
so. That's kind of how it goes with him, right?
Yeah. Where does he go, though?
The Lakers.
Ugh.
You guys know it's true. Come on, don't even lie. That's a
yes.
That would be the funniest option.
That would be. But yeah, I think the Heat. My prediction right now is the Heat run into a buzzsaw when they hit the Bucks next round.
Yes, I think the Heat are very well coached. They were on a string, but they just got to play against the Hawks, which are not a good team. It's Trae Young and then the Trae show, and if Trae is not scoring and doing stuff, he basically gets taken completely out of the game because he doesn't do anything.
I also want to say I feel like that series really exposed the way that the Hawks have been constructed. Like John Collins with Trae Young makes no sense.
Well, it makes no sense because Trae doesn't. If you could double Trae and take the ball out of his hands, he doesn't do anything else. Like he doesn't move, he doesn't set screens, he doesn't even really spot up. He just kind of stands on the logo and waits to get the ball back, which, leaves John Collins running pick and rolls with Kevin Huerter, and that's no good. And then they got to play the 76ers, which, Joel super hurt, and I don't know that there's a player with more quit in him than James Harden that currently gets a lot of money. So,
yeah, he wasn't about to put the squad on his back. That's not who he is.
I watched PJ Tucker today see that James Harden had moved to the middle of the lane and just not watching him, even though it's his man, and PJ just cut straight to the rim and got a layup. Like, what? Just constantly, stuff like that, all game long. So I don't know how good the Heat are because they got to play against two teams that I don't think were very good. So we'll see,
and they've lost some pretty dirty games because they live on the long two by Jimmy Butler and they die on that long two.
Yeah, so I think it'll be interesting.
This is a weird playoffs because for different reasons, I have basically no faith in either of the number one seeds.
Yep, agreed.
I'm just waiting for the yearly. I don't wish this on him because, he seems like a dick, but you still don't wish injuries on people. But I'm just waiting for the yearly Chris Paul injury to derail the Suns.
Yeah,
Chris Paul is 37. How dare you?
Yeah, like I say, I don't wish it on him, even though he does not seem like a good guy. But I think it's coming. It always comes.
Apparently, he's a really good union rep.
Yeah, all right, I support that. I do support labor, so I support his union work. He seems like a bad hang. I'll put it.
Yeah.
Oh yes. He would be critiquing your orders when you go to a restaurant. He'd be telling you how to get in the car. He would definitely take the radio. That's for sure. But yeah, I guess we can move to the other game that probably will close out a series tonight. So the Suns seem like they're going to beat the Mavs because the Mavs, their two wins basically involved the entire supporting cast catching fire simultaneously.
So real quick question. In hindsight, the Kristaps Porzingis trade really looks bad right about now.
For who?
For the Mavericks.
I don't know that that's true. Just because I don't think KP. So they got Davis Bertans and Spencer Dinwiddie. So they basically took Kristaps's one big bad contract and turned it into two smaller bad contracts. But actually, Davis Bertans does what you wanted KP to do, which is stand in the fucking corner and shoot threes when they throw you the ball. And Spencer Dinwiddie at least can dribble a little bit, and that helps the Mavericks. I don't think it's good, but you were getting off of a dude who had lower body injuries and now moves late stage Dirk Nowitzki, which isn't good. I think both teams lose there, but it's because both of them signed bad deals.
Sure. And it's very funny to see that apparently Devin Booker and Luka Doncic have this equal hate for each other when one is a generational talent and one is just very good.
Yeah, Devin Booker. So I don't want to look to next season on the Suns yet because I think they're going to close out the Mavericks. I think they're going to give probably the Warriors a run in the next round. They might even beat the Warriors. They're quite good. But the Suns have to win it this year, right? Like Chris Paul, he's going to be 38. Like you can't keep expecting him to have like 14 for 14 games to carry your ass out of things.
Unless like DeAndre Ayton suddenly comes on in a big way.
Yeah, but remember they declined extending him this season, so they're going to have to fight to bring him back.
Chris Paul or DeAndre?
DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah, I don't see him coming on in a big way either.
Yeah, and that's the thing is I've never seen like DeAndre has been great at finishing things that Chris Paul sets up for him. But I have not seen anything that makes me think he's a number 2 option right now.
I mean, DeAndre Ayton and DeAndre Jordan have the same first name. Coincidence?
I think not.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think this has got to be their year, like if they are going to win this, because next year the Clippers will be healthy and the Nuggets will be healthy.
Yep.
To start the season.
Yep.
And
the Western Conference is going to get harder next year.
Yeah.
The
this
Western
is
Conference is going to get harder unless you think that one of the teams with a young core like the Pels or someone else just bottoms out. Like
I don't.
It's going to get harder.
I think the Pelicans are going to be as good or better next year. It's going to be a bloodbath next year. Like the Warriors are going to be just as good. The Grizzlies will be better. The Nuggets will be much better.
The Clippers will have a possibly healthy Kawhi.
Yep. The Suns, even if they're the exact same team, everyone else is getting better. And I think the Suns are capped out, right? They can't really get another person in. If they re-sign DeAndre.
But if there is a team that you would give permission to like roll it back, it's kind of the Suns. I mean, they've got good. The odd thing is like the Suns might be only one step better than where the Portland Trailblazers were like 3 seasons ago.
Yep, but Chris Paul makes everyone smell like roses in a way.
I mean, he is really good. I don't trust him at this point.
Yeah, I don't trust his health. So do we think Luka? I mean, the Mavs are very oddly constructed. It's basically Luka and a bunch of role players, and Jalen Brunson, who aspires to be more than that. I don't know that I buy it yet, but that team is weirdly constructed for how much salary they've laid out to not have a second All-Star next to Luka is weird.
Has Maxi Kleber reached the point where you feel comfortable starting him next season?
I would start Kleber. Sure.
I probably would as well. But other than that, I think, the Mavericks need to do so. Also, can you get rid of Jason Kidd?
No. I can.
I was going to ask, is he good? I feel like no.
I don't know that he's good. I don't know that he's bad. I think just making Luka not pissed off at you seems to be helpful. And I do think that he didn't outthink the Jazz series. He just kept going, what if we took these guys one-on-one and then made Rudy rotate and then roast him?
Okay, now if there's one team that I can predict just completely implodes by next season, it's the Utah Jazz. But moving on.
Yes, they're going to be a completely different team.
They're done, yeah. How screwed, on a scale of 1 to they might not even let them participate in the playoffs next year, how screwed are the Grizzlies if Ja can't go?
Jaren Jackson Jr. is pretty good.
No, this year.
This year? So they they're kind of weird because they become a different team when Ja's not playing. They suddenly have no bad defensive players because Ja's not there, but their offensive dynamism goes way the hell down. So they basically become the old Zebo Grizzlies. Like the Zebo, Marc Gasol, no one can shoot. We're just going to scrap and get offensive rebounds team.
Yeah, that last game, Steven Adams got 6 offensive rebounds.
Yeah, so they they regress to their old Grizzly ways. So they're probably going to be able to steal. Like they stole a game, they might be able to steal another one. Their ceiling is definitely lower because they don't have a dude who can score more than like 25 points. I don't think. Triple J is now their best offensive player, and he's okay.
Okay. He's okay at that. Tyus Jones is going to get paid.
He should.
After this is over. I mean, the fact that he can pass the ball that well and get almost no turnovers, like that's amazing.
I would love to see a team actually start him. If he's going to be this low turnover, he seems like the perfect caretaker point guard. He's going to take nothing off the table. He's going to be A-okay. Like,
I mean, to win their last game, like they throttled the Warriors. So I mean, I don't mean to take that away from them, but they had to outshoot them from 3, and they took 19 more shots from the field. Like, I know, like you said, the O-Reebs are there, but I just don't see them getting, number one, outshooting the Warriors from 3, and 2, putting up 19 more shots.
I mean, the 19 more shots I buy. I don't buy them hitting the percentage. Like, Jaren Jackson Jr. shooting, what did he shoot? Like 3 or 4 from 3? He shot very well.
He was 4 for 6.
Yeah, he was 4 for 6. He shot 0 for 4 the night before. So, like, I don't buy that that's going to happen every time, especially when they're away. But I think that they're an interesting team because they have so many solid players. They're so deep that even with Ja out, they can still be competent, which means I think they'll be like a top 3 seed next year anyway.
Yeah, but the turnover ratio, too, 22 for the Warriors, 9 to the Grizzlies. That's not going to happen again either.
Probably not. No, I mean, they've won the games when the Warriors had weirdly bad shooting and decided to fuck around.
Yeah. I feel like for the Memphis Grizzlies, what's the big takeaway? This is it. Every year we see this. We see a team that makes it to the second round, maybe even deeper in a Cinderella story. But the Memphis Grizzlies are playing with house money. Sure. I don't think anyone predicted them to even get past the first round. They did. And you know what? I mean, it's unfortunate that Ja got hurt, but everybody play all these like they literally played they've been consistently playing almost every single player on the roster. And I think the message is pretty clear. We're still trying to figure out which of these players comes back next season.
Yeah, they're going to be a problem next year too. They're going to be good.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, if Jaren can just get up to like 35% from 3, I mean, he's an all defense candidate next year. And if he can just get to being an above average offensive player, I think that's a hell of a 1-2.
Yeah, he led the league in blocks this year. I mean,
yeah,
that's
he's
already
really good on D.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then the other side of that equation, the Warriors are scary again.
Yeah. Does this lead us to our prediction? No, wait. You know what, Gino? You've made a big move, and you've been watching the basketball in person.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it's time for me to ask, why the fuck wasn't I able to watch the Denver Nuggets on national television this year?
Yeah, so the reason why you're not allowed to watch the Denver Nuggets on national television is because the Kroenkes own the, I believe, Altitude Sports Network, which is their local, like if you're in the New York area, there's Yes Network, which is the Yankees broadcasting. There's the MSG Network, which is the Knicks, like James Dolan Network, and these are different networks, and they both have deals with different cable companies. The Kroenkes have their own, which is Altitude Sports, which has, I believe, the Avalanche and the Nuggets, so the hockey team and the basketball team. And they signed a deal, I believe, with Dish Network, like a very specific local Dish provider. So you cannot get any Nuggets local broadcasts on cable. And they do not seem to sell Nuggets access in alternate ways. So if you have a Hulu Live plus sports, if you have a regular cable subscription, all that stuff will leave you blacked out on the Nuggets. So, and almost no one has Dish. So you're just stuck. You cannot watch the Nuggets unless they're national games.
You can still get them. You can get them through League Pass still, right?
No, you can't, because you can't watch local network.
Really?
Local games on League Pass, yeah. So local games are always blacked out on League Pass because all of these teams have their own local TV deals and they want people to spend on those. And then, the Nuggets, because the Kroenkes are playing hardball with the cable networks, you're basically locking out most TV viewers from watching two-time MVP, which sucks. Sucks real bad. It is easier to get tickets to a Nuggets game than to watch them legally on television.
That is wild. I feel like that's counterproductive, but I mean,
totally
what
is.
do I know? Yeah,
it's terrible. But yeah, it's a bummer. But yeah, I mean the Warriors, I think they throttled the Nuggets pretty well. I didn't expect that to go any differently, and I think the Warriors, it's amazing. Like all of their young players have panned out for the most part, right? Like Kuminga looks great. Moody, when he plays, looks like a solid shooting guard. Poole Poole might be an all-star in a year or two. He's going to get maxed. an embarrassment of riches. Gary Payton II was like an all-defense candidate.
He was
like,
going to get paid right until a certain injury happened.
How old do you think Gary Payton II is, Pete?
Oh, God. Mid-20s?
Okay.
I think he's older than that. I think he's like 26.
You're both wrong. He's 29.
What the?
What?
Wow.
Really?
Yes.
Why is he so old?
Because he's been bouncing around the league for years. He graduated, I believe, from Oregon. Then he bounced around the league. He went to the G League. He came out of the G League. He got, end of roster spots. He finally got a chance to play. This is his first season where he's really gotten minutes. And at 29, I thought he was 26 too. And I was like, okay, he's still at least got another contract after this one. Nah, this is like his shot to get paid. And it's a real bummer that he got injured in the beginning of the playoffs, thanks to Dylan Brooks being just a goon. But yeah, that really sucks. Like, he was in a position. Now, thankfully he didn't play very much when he was younger, so he might have a little bit more tread than dudes who got run into the ground. But I thought he was going to at least get a few years of like Pat Bev money, and now I don't know.
So I'm looking at his basketball reference page, and somehow he made. I guess he was traded to the Bucks mid-season because it says he made $35,000 playing with the Milwaukee Bucks.
Sounds right.
Yeah, or with the Wizards in 2018 and 2019, he made $85,000. What a weird career he's had.
Oh, totally. And he's been one of the best defensive guards on the planet the whole time. And just because he's, I think he's like 6 foot tall, and he wasn't a good shooter. Now he's shooting in the I think mid to high 30s. But
let's see, I'm looking at it right now. From
Warriors
3, he's 35%.
Yeah.
From 2, he's 60%.
Yeah, because have you watched him play at all, Pete, this year?
I haven't really watched many Warriors games.
So what they do with him, or what they were doing for a while when Draymond was out, was they would basically have him set the screens for Steph and then roll, and he was their lob threat.
He was their roll man?
They made him a 6 foot tall roll man. They were throwing lobs to Gary Payton, and he was hanging out in the dunker spot. Just catch it. He was basically, the old ping pongs that Draymond would do to JaVale and stuff like that. They just have Gary Payton on the receiving end of those plays, and it worked. It totally worked. You needed a team that would use him really creatively, and he works. So I really hope he comes back healthy and is able to get his bag. I'm not going to weep for the son of Gary Payton monetarily, but I think he finally earned his spot in the league. He probably should be a first or second team all defense next year, assuming he comes back healthy. So that's kind of a bummer. And then I guess the last series we have is Celtics Bucks. How do you feel about this one, ZP?
I feel like it's become quickly one of the most unwatchable, unfun series I've ever seen, in part because I feel like it might be, other than the 2002 Western Conference Finals, the single worst refed and officiated series I've seen in a long time.
Yeah,
it's just unwatchable at times to watch the Boston Celtics go hard, flop around like fish, and then not get called for that shit. You remember at the start of the season when the league took foul baiting really seriously, and then for whatever reason, 2 months in, stopped giving a shit?
Yeah, it's really one of the floppiest teams playing against one of the most physical teams. And so Marcus Smart alone flops at least 4 or 5 times a game. The rest of the team, Grant Williams is trying to actually play defense, which is nice. Same thing with Al Horford. But Marcus Smart flops enough for the whole team, really. And, they're a good offensive team. They move the ball well. Jason Tatum is playing quite well now. He had a bad start to the series. Jaylen Brown seems to be pretty hit or miss. Al Horford going in the time machine is something I did not anticipate at all.
Yeah, I was happy for Al Horford. But also, I'm really happy that Drew Holiday is finally getting into a nice groove.
Yeah.
And, as someone who has consistently accused Coach Bud of not adjusting, he is finally adjusting. During that last game against the Celtics, he decided, we're going to bench Brook Lopez because this ain't working.
Yeah. Brook is a good player, but Bobby Portis at this point offers more on offense, and Brook is so slow on defense that I don't know how much better he is than Bobby. You know what really befuddles me? What happened to Brook's post game?
I think he's getting old, dude. I just think he's getting old.
Maybe it was for Giannis. Give him a little bit more space to work.
That's not. I don't mean like he should be demanding the ball down low, but like when he gets the ball on mismatches down low, which has happened a few times now, he's usually either thrown a little jump hook, like sort of floater thing, or he's shot a turnaround, or he's kicked it back out. And I mean, he used to have one of the prettiest post games in the entire NBA, and I just don't see him, going into pivots, shot fakes, anything to make him, like he doesn't do scoring moves, really. He just kind of catches it and immediately puts it up.
So let me ask 2 questions. 1, how many All-Star games do you think Brook Lopez has had? 2, what do you think his career rebound average is?
ZP, do you want to go first?
Oh, God, it's weird because Brook didn't figure out how to get rebounds until after his Nets days. Yeah. Like rebounds, I'm thinking like 5.5 is his career average. And then what was the other question?
How many All-Star games?
Shit. I mean, 2.
Okay. Gino?
I was also going to say 2 All-Star games, and I was going to guess 8 rebounds.
Gino, very optimistic for Brook Lopez's rebound numbers.
Oh, no.
So in his career, 1 All-Star game in 2012.
I knew he had one.
Yep,
I thought he might have gotten another one when I wasn't paying attention.
Career rebound average, 6.2.
Ugh.
Not pretty grim for a 7-footer. But yeah, I mean, look, he provides value. He's obviously a good player. He's just a very strange player.
Yeah, man, no one likes boxing out more than Brook Lopez and not getting the rebound.
He does too. He also went from, so every year of his career, for the first 7 years of his career, the most 3-pointers he ever shot in a season, 0.2. The very next year, 5.2 on a 35% average. Very strange guy.
That's a man he's a chameleon, He's like, at the beginning of his career, low post is a thing that people are really doing, and then it starts going away, and he's like, well, I better adapt or die. I don't want to be Roy Hibbert.
low
That's
blow
a
to
name
Roy Hibbert.
Hey.
Slander.
Very true, but cruel.
Look, somewhere out there he is taking little shrimps off of a wall in Pawnee, Indiana.
Can we, because you've reminded me of Roy Hibbert, can we say, this was a good year for Lance Stephenson out of nowhere?
Hell yeah. Born ready.
Yeah. More power to him.
Came out of nowhere, played 40 games, and looked pretty good from time to time.
He's always been A-okay. You just need to, rein him in. You need to have your expectations set appropriately for Lance. And also somehow when he puts on a Pacers jersey, he transforms. I don't know what it is. But yeah, I think, that series, the Bucks, the Celtics, I don't know where it's going to go necessarily. I think the Bucks are going to take it. It might go 7 games though. I didn't expect the Bucks to be able to do this much without Chris Middleton. I thought it would be harder. Yeah. But Giannis is so good on offense now.
And he's shooting well. He shot well for a couple of games too. So
yeah, he's got a mid-range game now, and he's
after everyone complained that he didn't have one.
And might have the best finishing around the rim of, just about anyone. Like the way he finishes these scoop shots, dunks, weird layups, runners, like he gets within 2 feet of the rim every time he drives, and he doesn't always just dunk it. He actually has the touch and the craft.
Another player with a very strange basketball reference page. His positions are listed as power forward, small forward, point guard, and shooting guard. They should just put center on there, honestly.
Honestly, they should, because he plays center in their closing lineup.
It's crazy.
Yeah, he's really good. He's the best player in the world right now, in all likelihood.
Yeah.
Could have easily won Defensive Player of the Year. Will be able to do that, I think, again next year. And also I did enjoy Drew Holiday picking Marcus Smart twice in 10 seconds to close the game. Just like, hey, I saw that you got the Defensive Player of the Year award. That was really cute. Let's just go ahead and show everyone who the actual Defensive Player of the Year is, please.
Yeah, I feel like Marcus Smart has just been around the Defensive Player of the Year conversation for so long that they just sort of gave it to him. I don't take advanced defense stats that seriously because I think they're very, very flawed. But just, for the sake of argument, he is not in the top 10 of any advanced defensive statistic.
Just looking at the eye test, I don't think he's the best defensive player on his team.
No.
I think you can make the case that Tatum, Horford, and Robert Williams are all better than him on defense.
Now, admittedly, I'm not going to say I agree with both of you. I would not have picked Marcus Smart to win Defensive Player of the Year. But two pieces. First off, I feel like the Defensive Player of the Year category in general completely devalues 3-and-D players and perimeter defense because there's no easy point to it statistic for it. And there have been 3-and-D players that have deserved that award in prior years. Second, Boston Celtics did have one of the best defenses in the league, statistically, purely raw stats. And so what has been the traditional narrative? You look at the team with the best defense and you pick a player from there. They picked the wrong player in my argument. I would side with Gino on that, but I can understand the thought process. At least conceptually.
Yeah, I get it. I just feel like Mikal Bridges is right there. The dude has never missed a game. Let me check so for teams, do we have, Pete, can you get the rankings for defenses for the year?
I can. Before I do that. Yeah, okay, I will do that.
Yeah, I think Phoenix was, if they weren't 2, they might be 3. And Mikal Bridges, some of the stuff he does on defense, he swatted a 3 out of the air after rotating from the top of the key. He's picked Luka's pocket multiple times. He gets actual steals. It's not just flopping and drawing charges. He actually makes defensive plays, which is nice.
So I've got the figures. The Boston Celtics were number 1 at 104.5 opponents. Wow, this is just points per game. I'll look up defensive ratings in a second. Boston led the league at 104.5 opponents points per game. The Phoenix Suns were at 107.4. So okay, I'll look up defensive ratings because that is not pace dependent. Give me a second.
Yep. No problem. Yeah, because I think that they were in the ballpark, and Mikal Bridges, I think, is a number 1 defensive player on Phoenix with a bullet.
Yeah. Fair enough.
But yeah, it's kind of a bummer. Go ahead, Pete.
I got it. Yeah, these are via StatMuse. So
hell yeah.
I don't know if StatMuse is reputable.
They're pretty reputable.
They're good.
We'll count it then. Number 1, so tied for first are the Warriors and Celtics at 106.9. And then the Suns are right behind them at 107.3. So, that's basically a rounding error.
Yeah, so I think I would have gone Bridges, and I think that's a good way to transition into our end of year awards. So we think that the Bucks are winning, right? That series?
Yes, I do.
It would not. I will say it would not surprise me if the Celtics win.
Yeah, both of these teams are good. I think we're watching the Eastern Conference Finals. I think whoever wins this beats Miami. And what do we think? So then on the West Coast, we think that Warriors beat the Grizzlies, and then the Suns beat Dallas, and then who do we think wins? Warriors, Suns.
Warriors.
I think so too.
I'll go with the Suns. Chris Paul's my favorite player of all time, so.
Okay, fair.
And then do we think the Bucks or Celtics win, or do we think the Warriors Suns? Do we think East Coast, West Coast?
I think it's East Coast. It's really weird where when we started this series, we were talking about how there was no balance between East versus West Coast, and now I think things have shifted.
Yep. All right, so our awards. All the awards are out that we predicted at the beginning of the year. Let's do a review. So we had Rookie of the Year. ZP, you said Scotty Barnes. Pete, you said Jalen Green, and I also said Scotty Barnes. So way to go, ZP. You and I both got that one.
Boo.
Jalen Green had some rough spots. Holy shit.
He did. He closed strong though. I think that was still a solid pick.
He did. Can we just quickly mention whenever Gino and I said anything positively about Scotty Barnes or Jalen Green, like Detroit Pistons fans would constantly reply to us, "Why are you sleeping on Cade?" It's like every single time.
I'm a fairly random person on the internet. What are we doing? Huh? Did you just have a name search on Cade Cunningham? And they do.
I mean, he came in third.
Yeah, he's
still good. Yeah.
Yeah.
He wasn't even close.
I mean, he was close. Like, he's good. Cade is good.
Yeah.
But
so Barnes had 48 first place votes. Cade had 9.
Yeah. So like Scotty and Evan Mobley got to be good players on good teams. Scotty might be like the second or third best player on the Raptors next year, and they're going to be a playoff team. Cade might not play meaningful basketball for a few years, unfortunately, but he's still good. Then for Sixth Man of the Year, we had ZP, Patty Mills.
Yikes.
Then Pete and I both said Tyler Hero. We both get one.
Yeah.
So far I'm 2 for 2. And then you each have 1.
Okay.
Moving on to Most Improved Player. ZP had Jordan Poole.
Hey. That's a respectable pick.
Had Michael Porter Jr.
Grim choice. Better than Marquise Caress, but still not good.
And I had Tyler Hero, so we were all wrong. The most improved player was
Jordan Poole. Not even getting nominated was such horseshit.
Yeah, who won this one? I forgot. It came out
it was Ja.
Ja, right.
I feel like that's Ja was too good to win this award.
Yeah, he made an improvement.
He did.
Yeah, he went from All-Star to MVP candidate, which is a big leap, but even still, yeah, none of us presumed third year, second overall pick. We didn't really guess that would be the person who they gave the award to. GP, I think, was the closest in spirit, though Tyler Hero, I think that was fine. But yeah, Michael Porter Jr. getting a back injury 9 games into the season and then not playing the rest of the year kind of ruined that one.
His back is just paper mache, apparently.
Yeah, Defensive Player of the Year, we all got bamboozled because none of us thought that this would go to Marcus Smart. ZP had Bam Adebayo. Pete had Matisse Thybulle.
Yeah, that was.
And I had Joel Embiid, which I think all of us were pretty far off.
I maintain this is just the vaccine crowd holding back Matisse. If he had been vaccinated, he would have won.
It's fair. And then Coach of the Year.
Oh, boy.
ZP had Quinn Snyder.
Yikes.
And then Pete and I both had Nate McMillan.
Ugh. Nice.
So yeah, that was our worst category. I don't think any of us were even in the ballpark.
What was your guys' thought process with Nate McMillan again?
Thought process was that the Hawks made it to the Eastern Conference Finals the year before, and their expectations would be slightly elevated, but they were bringing everyone back, so why would they be terrible? It seemed like they would be just a solid, upper half of the East playoff team, and instead they showed up disinterested and played just terrible basketball for half the year.
Yeah, it feels like a narrative pick to me. Like, I feel like Coach of the Year is usually a narrative win.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I think at this point there are so few bad coaches that really it's just like which team overachieved this year usually is who wins the award.
You say that.
Yeah, I mean, Monty Williams, I think the Suns being the number 1 team with a bullet was still a surprise.
Yeah.
Only 60-win team this year, I'm pretty sure.
I think the Grizzlies, didn't they get in? Weren't they 60 as well? But yeah, they were the best team with a bullet. Like, no one else was close. And then the big award, MVP. ZP, you had Luka Doncic. Pete had Joel Embiid. And Gino had Nikola Jokic. So, got that one. Boo. So, should I give my... Oh, go ahead,
Sorry,
Pete.
Gino, the Grizzlies won 56 games. So
Okay.
they were close.
They were close. So, I'll say my piece here. Jokic, Embiid, and Giannis, I think, were the three best players this year in some order. I think Jokic... Pete, how many points do you think the second leading scorer on the Nuggets averaged per game this year?
Oh, God. Will you tell me who it is?
It's Aaron Gordon.
15?
Exactly 15 points a game.
Oh.
Nice. I'm good.
He averaged 15. Will Barton averaged 14.7. Jokic averaged 27.1. Like, his secondary scorers were so abysmal that he put up 2,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, and 500 assists. He dragged this team of, like, everyone is playing two spots over where they should be because Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. are, like, with a bullet, their second and third best players. And, like, Aaron Gordon is a great fourth option. He is not a good second option. Will Barton should be coming off the bench probably at this point in his career. If he's not coming off the bench, he should be your fifth option on offense. He should just be passing the ball and playing good defense. Instead, he is their second creator. Monty Morris he's a fine backup point guard. He was starting for almost the entire season. Like, Jokic, what he did this year to put this team into the sixth spot, like, he was 3 games behind the 76ers, and I think, 4 games behind the Bucks? Like, they were so close with a team this depleted by injuries. Like, even some of their bench guys who they were hoping for were so banged up that they couldn't count on them. Zeke Naji was hurt for part of the year. PJ Dozier was hurt for most of the year. Like, a lot of their young talent, like, almost everyone was hurt. It was basically a one-man band for most of the season. And when you compare Jokic to Embiid, who was the second leading vote getter, the only things Embiid outperformed Jokic on were points per game, but he averaged significantly more shots per game, and blocks. Every other counting stat Jokic outdid him on. All of the advanced, like, if you get into the advanced numbers, it's not close. And at this point, I don't know, like, I get that the narrative was basically that Joel did not get the award last year and he should get it this year. But if you just, like, watch the games, Joel, like, he's just not as efficient a scorer. It's mostly a lot of it's free throws, like how he's getting these points up there. He's not as good of a mid-range shooter. He's not as good in the post, despite being bigger and stronger. He's a better three-point shooter by just a little bit. But, like, the sort of defense that the Heat were able to employ on Embiid with doubling him and tripling him, you cannot run on Jokic because when you double him, he passes to an open man, and then they get a layup. Like, part of why Embiid looks so impressive shooting over these double teams is because Jokic would never do that. He'd just pass it to the open man and they get a layup. Like, watch how the Warriors had to play him. Like, they had to solo him with Draymond Green, and he averaged like 30 points a game against the Warriors when he was the only person they had to stop. It's incredible what he was able to do this year. And I assume he might average a triple-double next year with people who can actually make shots on his team. So if anything,
he led the league in trip dubs this year at least. Yeah,
let me see who averaged the highest 3-point percentage on this team, because I swear, like, 3-point percentage, the highest 3-point percentage on the team was Monty Morris at about 40%. Oh, and Bryn Forbes at 41%. So a backup point guard and a 3-point specialist. Like, the other people in his starting lineup, Will Barton, 36%, Aaron Gordon, 33%, Jeff Green, 31%, Austin Rivers, 34%. Like, if you just put Michael Porter Jr. with his about 40% shooting, same thing with Jamal Murray in this starting rotation, just a lot of these shots go in that were not going in this year. So I think if you were going to make the argument that Giannis was the real MVP, I can get with that because he's actually like a defensive player of the year candidate and had similar numbers to Jokic and Embiid. But like the Embiid was robbed thing it's silly.
No, it's Philly neurosis is what it is. But interesting. Here's a little interesting historical tidbit I just found out. Jokic is the lowest drafted player to ever win the MVP award.
Yep.
At 41st overall, but that's with the exception of Moses Malone. He won the award 3 times, and Moses Malone was actually not drafted.
Really?
He was an undrafted NBA player. He joined the ABA straight out of high school, never went to college. And then when the NBA and ABA merged, he was selected in the dispersal draft. So Moses Malone, technically undrafted.
Yeah, that's a real technically, though. He was playing professional basketball.
Much. Very, very, very much technically undrafted, but interesting.
Yeah. I agree with everything you said, Gino. I think the only thing that I want to put this in is I'm maybe slightly negative about the prospect of the Nuggets in general. Like, especially if we have no idea in terms of MPJ's back status, and I don't know.
I think
they've got a lot of money shored up on MPJ. They've got a lot of money coming up that they're going to need to dedicate. I mean, you obviously pay Jokic to keep him, but
yes, 100%.
I just don't know. And then what's the plan with Aaron Gordon? Do you just continue to pay someone that gets paid as if they're a second option? But
I mean, he's getting like $20 million a year. Like, I think once you get Jokic plus MPJ and Jamal Murray back, Aaron Gordon goes back to the role he should be playing, which is what Andre Iguodala did for Golden State. Plays outstanding defense, cuts like hell, shoots open threes when they're there, guards the opposing team's best player. If he's that, he's worth the money. If he's your second leading, if he has to create offense by himself or, catch and have to do something besides dunk it or shoot, it looks way worse. But like, him cutting off ball when Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic are dancing because they set so many screens and have so many dribble handoffs, he looks outstanding in that role. And I think as soon as everyone's put back in their actual normal positions, this team offensively, like, sky's the limit. Defensively, I think they will be at least solid. Jokic is at least average to above average defender at this point. Aaron Gordon's still excellent. Jamal Murray, I think, is a A-OK point guard defender. I don't know what the hell to do with MPJ. Like, his defensive ceiling is very high, but his smarts sometimes leave me scratching my head. And if Will Barton just has to play defense, I think he's at least doing what he's supposed to be doing. So I think this team gets significantly better.
Can I derail the conversation with a Moses Malone statistic?
Please do.
Sure.
I've fallen into a Moses Malone rabbit hole. I apologize.
You need some positivity with Philly sports, because the Flyers ain't going to give it to you either.
No. So I'm looking at the career records for offensive rebounds.
Oh, God.
And this is just the NBA. This isn't even taking into his ABA account, his career. The gap between Moses Malone at number 1 and the number 2 player is the same as the gap between the number 2 player and the number 59 player on the leaderboard.
How many offensive rebounds did Moses have?
So just counting his NBA player, he's at 6,731. Robert Parrish, who played for 1,000,000 years, is at 4,598.
Disgusting. Just patty caking the ball off the backboard to himself for no reason.
Just
chairman of the boards.
Just an incredible guy. Not even that big, but enough of Moses Malone. I love him.
So just to round off our kind of preseason predictions, our playoff predictions, ZP, you had for the East, the Nets, Bucks, Hawks, 76ers, Bulls, Knicks, Pacers, Heat.
Ugh.
I don't see Celtics. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Did I forget to pick the
7?
I had a brain fart.
No, I think you have Celtics in there. I crossed it out and then crossed it back in, I think. I think you said not Celtics and then you added them back. But yeah, Nets, Bucks, Hawks, sure. 76ers, Bulls, Knicks, Pacers. Heat. Wait, no. One,
Yeah.
two,
Nope.
three,
That
four,
let's
five,
just
six,
call
seven,
total failure on my part. Move on.
Yeah, you didn't have the Celtics, so that's tough.
Yeah.
Pete had the Nets, Bucks, Hawks, 76ers, Heat, Celtics, Raptors, Bulls. So bing, 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 bing. Perfect.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
I had the Nets, Bucks, Hawks, 76ers, Heat, Knicks, Bulls, Celtics. So I missed the Raptors and had the Knicks.
You put your trust in the Knicks just like I did, and you didn't live to tell the tale.
Yeah, I thought they'd be in 8th place. So joke's on me. And then in the West Coast, we had ZP.
Oh boy.
With Jazz, Lakers, Nuggets,
Yep.
Mavs, Suns, Grizzlies, Clippers, Warriors. So you were good on everyone except the Lakers, which we all, I think got
we
clowned
all
by them.
messed that up.
I don't think.
Hey,
we can be
it was a
blamed for
very
that one.
fun clown show. Let's just say
It was.
It
had so many rings. The car had so many people in it. It's so many familiar faces in that clown car.
It was very good.
Pete had the Warriors, Jazz, Nuggets, Mavs, Suns, Blazers, Clippers, Lakers. So 2 wrong there.
Ooh, Blazers hurt me. That was a tough loss.
And I had the Jazz, Lakers, Nuggets, Mavs, Suns, Grizzlies, Clippers, Warriors. So, again, beclowned by the Lakers. None of us had the Pelicans because we thought Zion wasn't going to play. And it turns out they made it anyway.
We also, as did everyone, we were not predicting that the Lakers would just completely combust.
No, I thought they would be a bottom half of the West playoff team, but no, they combusted all the way. And most of our championship predictions are dead in the water. ZP had the Nets. Pete had the Bucks, so you're still live, and I had the Jazz. So ZP and I both, I think, beclowned by our championship picks. I leave it up to you, dear listener, which of us had the worst picks. So in terms of total corrects, I had 3 of the awards. ZP and Pete, you each had 1. And then in terms of the playoffs, Pete had a perfect East. I would say ZP had the worst East. And then I was in second. And then in the West, ZP had the second. Me and you were pretty much tied. We both had the same thing, except the Lakers tricked us both, and Pete had the worst prediction for the playoffs in the West. And, you might still get the champion right, Pete, so you're still live there.
Right.
I feel pretty good about our preseason predictions. We were not completely off this year.
No, we were close, and even in the awards, we might not have caught the winners, but a lot of the people we picked were nearby.
Yeah, so way to go. You can listen to Balls Deep, the Deep Listens podcast, for your NBA news and analysis, and we're not terrible. Way to go. We're just some randos who have access to Basketball Reference and watch a lot of this game. So way to go, Pete. Way to go, ZP.
I would
We're
say
a video game podcast.
Our failures, our failed predictions were admirable failures. I guess I'll just keep telling us that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for all of your basketball and video game needs, the Deep Listens podcast. So any closing thoughts on the season? We'll probably check in after the season's over, come draft time. We usually tune back in. And then, the hiatus till we get preseason and our predictions coming around once again.
So I have one more thought. I would just like to give a shout out to DeJounte Murray, a 28-9 and led the league in steals. That's a crazy stat line.
Yeah, he's really good. He's really good. ZP, any closing thoughts?
I regret to inform everyone that the Miami Heat are no longer playing Welcome to Miami by Will Smith, even though that song smacks.
We can't win them all. And thank you, listeners. Again, thank you, Grant, for suggesting another NBA podcast. Happy to oblige. So a reminder, you can get in touch with the show at DeepListensPod on Twitter, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We have our comment sections, deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. And you can support the show on patreon.com/deeplistens. Till next time, peace.